Welcome everyone to this week's subject lead briefing. So we've got 3 items on the agenda. 2 are just reminders from last week, and one is one that's going to influence link meetings for the next couple of weeks. So the first item is just a reminder of CPD and SPDS for this term. So hopefully you've had a chance to communicate this with your teams, but just a reminder that this week is SPDS, and there are some ideas there for things that you could be discussing. So Year 11 second round of assessments, the forthcoming Year 10 examinations, which I'm going to go on to a little bit later on today, and then the Year 9 and 10 parents' evenings. But you are welcome to obviously do some collaborative planning and use that time really productively in whatever way you see fit. The following Monday, Hannah will be delivering some safeguarding training, so that will be everybody together. And then the Monday the 13th is the WMAT inset, and the final 2 Mondays, one will be given over to Flo, and we'll be revisiting behaviour for learning. And then the final Monday of this half term is SPDS. And I think we agreed that you could give that over to moderation and marking of Year 11 assessments if you do them within your subject. So hopefully you've had a chance to communicate that to your teams. Second item is just in terms of the curriculum area learning environments. We talked a little bit last week about doing an audit of your physical environments, and I gave you a little list of the things that you could be looking out for. A couple of you have got back to me and said, what format would you like that list in? And so I'm just going to say, if you could just hold your lists for the time being, if you could carry on collating and doing the audit, and then in due course what I will do is I will send out a Google form where you can record all the information on it. And I've been speaking to Leanne about health and safety requirements in certain subjects, and she would like to add that to the Google form. So it'd be something that else that you can check your physical environments against to ensure that they're not just appropriate for your teaching, but they're also health and safety compliant if need be. So I will issue that Google form in due course, but if you can carry on doing an audit of your physical environments, that would be wonderful. The final item on this week's agenda is in terms of Year 10. So we're going to start a process in the next couple of weeks called Looking Ahead to Year 10. And in particular, we're going to be thinking about assessments and how those assessments that we set in Year 10 this year feed into the mocks for next year, and having a bit more of a coordinated and coherent approach to Key Stage 4 assessment as a whole and intervention, so that we don't get to Year 11 and do all of the work there, that we actually start that process now. So in this week's SLT meeting, I will be talking to the rest of the members of SLT about this, and coming up with a more of a concrete plan. But in terms of couple of things that we'd like you to consider within your departmental areas and as subject leads. 2 things really. The first one is about the actual summative assessments that are set at Key Stage 4. So like I said, we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, half term, we're going to do a review of the Key Stage 4 summative assessment points. And we're going to be thinking about the timing of those assessment points, timing of the data drops and the reports, timing of parents' evenings, and the timings and nature of interventions. So that be, revision sessions or study skills days or anything that we do for Key Stage 4. Now, some of those they've been set for Year 10 and we can't do much about them, but some of those for next year's Year 11, we can do something about, and we can start to think, okay, what's worked this year and what can we change for next year? At the same time, wanted to look at review a content of the assessments and the marking and moderation of assessments. We've done a lot of work in terms of Year 11, want to do the same process for Year 10, and to think about how then that feeds into Year 11. And then that final point, the alignment between Year 10 and Year 11, how has it been considered, and is it cumulative? And also thinking wider across the mat, where we've got subjects that teach the same exam or exam board, where, is there an opportunity to align our assessments so that there are greater moderation purposes? So if we think just in terms of Key Stage 4 assessments, just a little bit of a heads up, and I think I might have mentioned this last week, but the Year 10 exams have been moved slightly from from where they were initially scheduled on the calendar, just by a week. So they've been brought forward to Tuesday the 2nd of May to Friday the 12th of May. So that's the window for Year 10 exams, and all subjects will be expected to do some form of assessment. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, the Thursday in both of those weeks doesn't count because it's the vocational day for Year 10, and neither Monday counts because it's Bank Holiday Monday. At the moment, what we're suggesting is that your Year 10 assessment should be a full GCSE paper, preferably from the 2022 exam series, where possible. And that's the conversation we'd like you to have in your link meetings. So if we think about then link meetings for the next couple of weeks, what we'd like you to do with your link is discuss the potential content and makeup of your paper that you are going to set, and whether it's possible to set a full paper, whether you may need to set an abridged paper, or whether you can't set a paper, you need to go on NEA. The marking and moderation that's going to happen with that paper, how you propose to do that, and then the alignment between what you set now and what you then propose to set in Year 11. So one of the things that we're asking everyone to think about in the link meetings, or to complete, I should say, is a grid like this. So your link will have a grid like this in front of them, and there will be details of your actual GCSE exam, how many papers it consists of, and the weightings and so on and so forth. And then by the end of this half term, ideally, what we'd like are details of what are you going to set in Year 10, what then are you going to set in Year 11, and then both for the mock, for the December mock and the February assessment, because it's important that we get some sort of alignment between those three if we're then going to be comparing data and thinking about how realistic the data drops actually are, or the grades that the children the students are given in each of those data drops, and where we need to focus intervention. Okay, so we'll give you a bit more details about that in the next couple of weeks, but if we could start to have that conversation this week and next week in our links, that would be wonderful. The other thing we just wanted to mention in terms of Year 10 is the fact that we are going to hopefully put on a revision and study skills day for Year 10, the whole of Year 10, on Wednesday the 15th of March. Now, some of you may have noticed that that is actually one of the strike days. So we are hoping to have Year 10 in on that day, and they're going to be out the following day. So on that day, to try and make it really productive, and also to help them prepare for those forthcoming exams, which are straight after Easter, we'd like to put on a revision the study skills day. So I'm going to hopefully plan it with Felicity, and it's going to be based on all the research. It's going to be research and cognitive science informed, and we're going to be using strategies from the learning scientists and powerful teaching, and all those really good strategies from those colleagues. Yeah, so hopefully it should be a really worthwhile experience for Year 10. What we'd like you to do during your links this week and next week then is we'd like you to think about how are you thinking, how do you propose to encourage your students to, draw on those strategies within your subjects when they're studying and when they're revising, and particularly further specific revision strategies or learning strategies that work in your subject that you'd like us either to touch upon on that day, or that you are going to work with your students on in their lessons. This particular agenda item will probably best done next week rather than this week, once you've received a bit more information about what this study skills day is going to look like and what strategies we're going to be giving them. So just a couple of things for the next couple of weeks of link meetings. Hopefully next week we will do a face-to-face or an in-person subject lead briefing, just to kind of pick up on this and give you a bit more information about where we're thinking and what we're thinking with Year 10 into Year 11. Thank you very much for this. Have a wonderful week. And as always, if you wish to come and see Felicity and I on a Tuesday morning, we are going to have office hours between 8 and 8:40. Do pop in and come and see us if you want us to think about or talk about any of these bits. Okay, thank you very much.